Hello everyone, welcome back, and thank you for joining me today. So I've started a new diagonal. We've got some nice bright colors to work with that should pop on camera a bit better, I think, than the pale stuff I've been using. This will definitely be a more confetti area. So we're back into the trees at the top of this diagonal. So hopefully you find it interesting. Okay. Yeah, I was parking that based on other threads, and I have to be careful because I have multiple threads of the color I was basing it on. So, yeah, got to be careful not to confuse myself. Oh, meant to put that on mark instead of move mode. Okay, now normally I wouldn't carry a color that's this dark that far, but the stitches that are between them are also dark colors, so I'm not going to have to worry about it showing through. If it was pale colors in between, then I would pin stitch it and end off. So not a ton of things to update. Life as usual. Trying to learn a couple new pieces on the piano. I'm no expert, just an intermediate player. Oh, look at that. Ah, there we go. It was uneven. Yeah, I took piano lessons for about 8 years, I think. So yeah, got to the intermediate level. So I'm not going to be playing any Rachmaninoff or anything like that. Just simpler pieces. Keeps the fingers nimble, I guess. I also find some of the pieces that I have memorized, playing them is almost like a meditative experience for me. There's a couple I can actually even close my eyes while I play them. I've played them so many times, and yeah, I'm not good at like traditional meditation. Pretty sure I have ADHD, so the brain is, there's a lot of chatter. Lots of thoughts at once. I rarely do one thing at a time. Partly why I learned to do crafts. Can knit or stitch while watching TV or visiting or listening to podcasts or audiobooks. I even had a paperback book holder, so I could even sometimes knit while reading. Yeah, I figure I've got all this energy. I might as well turn it into something productive instead of, you know, biting my nails or something. Instead, make some nice pieces of art. I made so many blankets that everybody close to me pretty much has a blanket I've made. I remember too, there was a phase where it seemed like everybody was having babies at the same time. It was like, no, I won't be able to get them all knit in time. Because once I have to knit on a deadline, then it gets stressful. But I did manage, so. I remember I'd kept a box of sweaters my grandma had knit me, even though I'd outgrown them because, I mean, they were made with love, right? Yeah, unfortunately, got damaged in storage, so I don't have them anymore. My grandma did teach me how to knit, so there's a gift that I'm going to be able to keep for a lifetime, right? Yeah. It's this one here. Where am I? Okay. There. I just noticed that stitch there was a bit loose, so I just looked on my pattern as to what color it was, so I'd know where I parked it, so I'd know which thread to pull on to tighten it up. So that is one drawback of the parking sometimes, because the threads are just parked there and not secured. You have to be careful that they don't pull loose as you're working around them. No other of this color close by. So end it off. Yeah, well, my grandma taught me the basic knitting skills. I learned more advanced stuff from the internet and books. Really liked Barbara G. Walker's books. Her stuff's older, but the advice in it's timeless. Yeah. From her, I learned all sorts of different ways to knit garments with a minimum of seams because I don't like sewing them together. It's the dreaded finishing. I really like that color. It's really pretty. Okay, I think, yeah, I unthreaded that, so I'm going to leave it for the next section. and just carry on. Excuse me. I have plenty of other threads here to work with, so. Just checking the length of my threads here. Decide if I want to carry up or add new threads and carry down. Okay, so I'm going to want to start a thread and sort of carry that up and around. But that means I'm going to do these other stitches that are to the left and above before I do that. As usual, trying to avoid closing stuff in. And it's going to be a while till I get to where that one's parked, so I just unthreaded it. Too many needles on threads, and it doesn't save any time. You spend more time untangling than stitching, so it's not worth it. Yeah, so I'm excited. There's a new Star Trek series starting soon. Strange New Worlds. Although it's another prequel. I'm getting kind of tired of prequels, I gotta say. Discovery is a prequel, and Enterprise was a prequel. And I wouldn't mind if they had another series that picked up where Voyager left off, but they haven't seemed to be prepared to do that. So this new series is going to be Captain Pike, who was in the original series. So, but it's Star Trek. I'm going to watch it anyway. Yeah, but finally we introduced our teenager to Star Trek. I think he's finally old enough to appreciate it. Plus, some of the themes are a bit more, PG-13 level. So, yeah, we started with, oh, I grabbed the wrong thread. We started with The Next Generation. So, we're about halfway through that. Oh, it was funny. We got to the finale, ended on a cliffhanger. We've been watching one episode a night. And I said, do you want to watch the second part after it was finished? He said, no, that's fine. We can watch it tomorrow. And I joked, well, clearly I have failed as a nerd parent if my kid is able to leave it on a cliffhanger. When I was his age and I got to that episode and it was a cliffhanger, everyone heard me yell, no, from across the house. And at the time, it was in repeats. So I only had to wait a week for the second part. Not like when it first aired and you had to wait, the whole summer. Yeah, I was a bit too young when it first aired. So, started watching it when I was about 11. Yeah, that's what really got me started on my love of sci-fi. Yeah, I'm really not good at leaving things on cliffhangers. I made the mistake when I was binge watching shows and I say to myself, okay, one more episode, then I'll go to sleep. Then it ends on a cliffhanger and, well, I can't go to sleep now. I'll just lie awake wondering what happened. Oh, dear. I've gotten a little better at leaving it, but still, if it's really good, there's no way. I remember when I was a teenager staying up till 3 to read a book because it was too interesting to put down, and how many times I got woken up from dropping the book on my face. Yeah, you don't want to do that with a hardcover. Ask me how I know. Oh, dear. Yeah, I've been kind of spoiled by the digital age. I really don't read paper books that much anymore. I thought I would be one of those people who would never go over to digital, but there's so many free ones out there. That suckered me. And I really do love being able to make the font bigger. And being able to, look up definitions of words that I don't understand. I used to have to keep a dictionary next to me when I was a kid because it would drive me nuts if I didn't know what a word meant. And then what really sucked is if your dictionary wasn't big enough to have that word. I remember when reading Chronicles of Narnia, and they used the word nosegay, which none of us knew what that meant, and our big 80,000 word dictionary didn't have it. So we just had to not know what it meant for years. It means a bouquet of flowers. But it took me years to find that out. And of course, I'm old enough, this was before internet, when you could just, look it up easily. So I've been so spoiled by it that after I got myself an e-reader, I was reading a print book and thought, I don't know what that word means, and pressed on it for a second before I went, oh, duh. This is a paper book. That's not going to help. Ooh. We've all done that, though, hey? Looked for the undo button on a piece of paper, or the zoom. Or someone said they tried to zoom in on their paper pattern because they got so used to Pattern Keeper. It's like, yeah, that doesn't work. Oh, dear. Yeah, my great aunt, too, she ended up switching to e-readers because of arthritis. Made it very difficult to hold a physical book anymore, which is completely understandable. Nice thing, too, is with ebooks, you can use the accessibility features on a device and it can read them to you. Not as good as an audiobook, but still, it's something, right? Yeah, I used to be a bit of a snob about that, thinking, audiobooks isn't real reading, but nah. You're consuming the story. It counts. Reading is reading. My kid reads a lot of graphic novels. So, it's still reading, right? Yeah. Yeah, he really liked, which one was it now? Oh, can't think of the name, but yeah. It's like, well, you're still reading words. Still good for your brain. Good exercise. Okay, so I'm going to do separate threads for this bit. It's funny though, if it's not an ebook and you have the computer reading it to you, some of the pronunciations are quite hilarious. Especially the slang words, it has no idea what it's supposed to say. I had one time my computer read unappetizing as you pit a zig. I had to stop and the playback and look at what had actually been written there because that made 0 sense. So yeah, it was odd. Or I had one, it pronounced a character's name differently depending on where it was in the sentence, even though it was spelled exactly the same way. Yeah, that was odd. But it was kind of nice. I'd caught up on all my podcasts. I didn't really feel like listening to music. Wanted a story while I was cooking, so yeah, I had my phone read it to me. Or it can be useful on long car trips. Even if I'm not driving, I can't read in the car. I get too motion sick, so yeah. It was funny, I was listening to a podcast where the lady was saying she had an audiobook playing and she had the GPS, so it would interrupt the story. So it would be quite funny. It would say, he turned to her and said, in 200 meters, turn right. It's like, no, wait, that's not what he said. Yeah, it's just wild. I grew up in the generation where we didn't have all this technology, so I remember what it was like before it. Yeah, I'm spoiled by it now. I saw a meme that said, I grew up in the dial-up generation, and yet I will rage quit any website that doesn't load within 5 seconds nowadays. Yeah, someone was saying her kids read a story that was set in the 90s, and they asked, why did the main character have to stay behind at school to go use the library to look something up? You know, why couldn't she just look it up at home? Oh, feel your age. They're having to explain to your kids, yeah. Unless you had a set of encyclopedias, which, you know, only the rich people had generally, there was no way to look it up at home. It's not like now where you can just grab your phone and look it up 2 seconds. Yeah, mind's blown there. It's funny because sometimes I kind of forget that it used to be like that, and I grew up with it, so I guess I can't blame the younger generation for not being able to grasp it. The idea that they don't have all the world's information at your fingertips at any second. That we actually had to remember how to spell things instead of just being able to Google it, an approximation. Oh. Yeah, I said my spelling has gotten much worse. I have been spoiled by Google. Don't have to remember how to spell stuff anymore. Yeah, maybe it's a good thing. There's only so much space, right? To store information. All right, a lot of switching back and forth here. I actually really enjoyed the movie, The Inside Out. I know that was a few years ago, but yeah, in fact, I had a few friends who said it really helped people understand more about things like depression and how they affect your brain. I kind of liked the joke too about how, you know, the jingle for the gum was a core memory. Because it's true, right? Sometimes the most random things your brain just hangs on to, but try to remember where you left your keys 10 minutes ago and forget about it. Try and get that free, but yeah, I definitely have that kind of brain. Obscure trivia is in there forever. But if I want to remember what I need to buy at the store, I better write it down. There's no way I'm going to remember it. Oh, got a knot there. There we go. You know, you think to yourself, the main thing I need at the store is to buy bread. I don't need to write that on the list. I'll remember it. No, lies. I will not remember it. Oh, I even once went to the store to get new dish sponge. Grabbed a few other things, of course forgot it, realized that I was walking out of the store, and I didn't want to be that person who has to turn around and go right back in because they forgot something. So I went across the street and I bought it there at the hardware store. The things we do, hey? So silly. Ooh. Okay, I thought maybe I'd unthreaded my needle there on the back side, but I did not. So that's good. Quite a few colors, but we seem to be making pretty decent progress this morning. Oh, I unthreaded the needle. Oh, and now I just grabbed, yeah, the wrong one. The one that had a different thread on it. Yeah, I can still remember my friends' phone numbers from when I was in, high school. But I have to look up my husband's work number because we never punch in numbers anymore, right? You program it in once and then you just hit the name. So oh, look at that. I grabbed the wrong one. Yeah, that's not right. Let us try that again. I even remember sometimes I used to have to remember a friend's number by, the pattern it made on an imaginary keypad. Yeah, it'd be nice if you could just get rid of that extraneous information, hey? Make room for more important stuff. I mean, I certainly don't need my 8th grade locker combination anymore. Oh, dear. But that'll probably be able to recall that till the day I die. guess the colors are kind of mostly going in the same direction as the diagonal, so that makes it go a little quicker, even if I am having to change colors a fair amount. This color is quite scattered. So I'm glad to get some new TV shows now. The Olympics are done. Yeah. I know Kung Fu's coming back. It's a CW show. I love superhero stories. And I was thinking when I was little, I was really into the Greek god stories. I just loved those. We had we had some little encyclopedia books. They weren't very big, but yeah, I got really into learning about the Titanic, and I got really into the Greek god myths. And then it struck me that the superhero stories are basically just the Greek god myths similarly, right? Because they're not perfect. They're just like humans with extra powers. They still have, they're still illogical and jealous and angry, and so it makes for interesting storytelling. I'm not sure I could pick a favorite either. Watched Smallville this year. Really enjoyed that. That was on Amazon Prime. Yeah, I think that's my favorite version of Superman. It's young Superman, so it starts with him in high school and shows him slowly becoming the hero. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was when it started, he has teenage problems, and at the end he's an adult and has different problems, and yeah, it was fun. And they made a lot of nods to the original movies. So that was fun. Like, I remember one time they have a problem and his best friend says, well, what are you going to do? Run really, really fast and turn back time? Which, of course, made me laugh because that happened in one of the original Christopher Reeve Superman movies. They even found a way to bring Christopher Reeve in as a recurring character. That was pretty cool. And the actress who had played Lana Lang played his mom in the Smallville prequel. So yeah, we're watching The Arrow now. It was another show I wasn't really into when it first came on, and by the time I thought I'd be interested in watching it, it had already been on for like 2-3 years, and trying to jump in then would have just been confusing. Again, dating myself here, this is before you had on-demand streaming everything. This was in the days of cable, so and satellite. So yeah, if you didn't start watching it when it first aired, you were kind of out of luck. So discovering those shows now. Yeah, I like that TV is getting more longer story arcs instead of as episodic as the way it used to. Nowadays that you can stream stuff, it's much easier to catch up if you don't get in on the ground floor and start watching it when it first comes out. Oh, and I'm extremely excited. They're bringing back original Law and Order after over a decade off the air. Yeah, grew up with that show. And then they very abruptly canceled it in 2010. I was so disappointed, so they're bringing it back. New cast, of course. Although I did hear that Jack McCoy may make an appearance. He was the prosecutor for like, dozen years he played on that show. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Yeah, I could hear that knot popping through the fabric, but I was able to tease it out, so we're good. All right, still threaded, so I'll do it. I think, yeah, it's all by itself, so we will tie off. Yeah, those pieces left over were too small. I think 5 inches was what I measured was the minimum length, or minimum length I need to be able to do one solitary stitch with it. Yeah, I wonder if the Law and Order franchise is going to get a whole new generation of fans now. Yeah, because there's younger people who might catch on and be pretty happy to find out there's 20 years of older episodes to go through. That's always the best. Yeah. I really like medical shows too, so I was really happy when I found All Saints on Prime because there's almost 500 episodes, so that kept me busy for quite a while. Yeah, even more episodes than ER did. Yeah, All Saints is an Australian show. And their seasons, they made like 40 episodes. Must be a grueling work schedule for them. trying to tuck those other pieces back into the right spot on my tray. Oh, look at that. There is, if I pull on that, that will tighten it into a knot. So instead, I'm going to stick needles in these loops. There. Ta-da! Luckily, I noticed that before I pulled it tight. Because once you get a knot in a single strand like that, you're not going to be able to undo it. It's way too small and fiddly. Yeah, I wonder if you can hear that train in the background. Wonder how sensitive that microphone on my camera will pick up. I'm actually amazed of all the little sounds it does pick up. Like the needles hitting the magnets and stuff. It's pretty clear, so. Yeah, it's wild. When my son was born, we actually had a camcorder. You know, a separate device just for recording stuff. Although it was on a disc, not a tape. Yeah. Husband's been trying to digitize that, and I plan to eventually get a negative scanner. Because, yeah, I got a lot of over 20-year-old pictures that I wouldn't mind having digitized that were back when we used film. And, of course, the best way to get a good quality scan of that is to go right back to the negative. So, yeah, I had to explain to my son what that even was. Although that's not as quite a lost art as some other ones. I have a couple of relatives who actually still like to shoot on film and have their own dark rooms. I think that's one medium that's never going to fully die out, kind of like vinyl records. Not as popular, but they still make them. And there's still diehards who prefer them, so yeah, I think that one won't go out completely. There'll always be some enthusiasts who keep it going. Well, that was, yes, somebody said, there were some young kids saying, why is that they in that red lighted room for? The kids had no idea about film. or the save icon on the computer, right? They won't know that we actually used to save on little discs that looked like that. I still have some somewhere. Of course, no way to access them. Although the files on it are on my hard drive, so it's not like they're lost. I mean, I wonder if they've even probably degraded by now, that even if I did have a floppy drive, I wonder if you could even read them, or if they'd all be degraded or corrupted by now. That is a possibility. Okay, that is too short for me to get any more stitches out of it. So I'm going to tie it off with pin stitches. Okay. Trying not to stitch over that grid line. I like to keep it visible. Makes counting a bit easier with more places to count from. Okay, I thought I was going to carry that into the next big square of 100, but this is too short to bother doing that. Ah, that is a long piece. Definitely suitable for traveling and parking. All right, so I think I'm gonna call it a day here. And I thank you for joining me once again. And I hope you enjoyed stitching with me today. And I hope you will join me here again next time. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.